Ubisoft, you guys are just the biggest dumbasses ever.
What? What did I say?
And I am talking to the leadership, not the developers. How do you take one of your best games that you have released in the last 10 years? I am not even joking on that. How do you take the team that has made that and you just decide to split them up into other projects, including one that was announced back in 2008? We're going to get into that in a second here. But first, a moment of silence for the team that made the awesome game that was Prince of Persia The Lost Crown. I don't care what anyone says, that game is amazing, and if you have not played it simply because Ubisoft's name is attached to it, you need to go get it right now. It is an absolutely amazing 2D platformer, amazing combat, Metroidvania. It is absolutely amazing. Blows pretty much every other game in that area out of the water right now, and it is absolutely 100% worth it. It's on every platform: Steam, PlayStation, Xbox, even the Nintendo Switch can play it, no problem. And they even had a couple of free updates over the time, and they even had $5 story DLC, and it was amazing. It absolutely was. It was already a complete package at launch, and they just simply added some free stuff onto it after a couple of months, and we got this nice little extra bonus story DLC stuff at the end of its life. And it's an amazing, it is what games are supposed to be. It was a full package right there at launch, no hiccups whatsoever, played amazingly. And it boggles my mind that Ubisoft is like, well, it didn't meet our expectations. I'm sorry, I thought Square Enix were the dumbasses when it came to expectations and everything. Come on, Ubisoft, pick it up here a bit. But after everything that's going on with that company, I can't really be surprised. I mean, we don't even know if they're going to be around in the next couple of years. Most likely they will, but regardless, it is just, it's baffling. It is truly baffling. You have one of your best games in a long time, and just, oh God, why would you do this? Especially when we start to see reports that these team members that were disbanded, not fired, but they were disbanded from the Prince of Persia team. And apparently their second game that they were going to pitch, or another game they were going to pitch, whether it was a sequel, a spinoff, you name it, was denied. And now they're being pushed on to other projects, which I get. People leave certain projects after a game is complete, and they go and work on different things if they want to, or if they have the ability to continue on that particular project and go into a sequel or anything like that, they do. Absolutely. That's nothing unnormal in the gaming landscape and everything like that. But Ubisoft is just like, it didn't meet internal like, what were you expecting from a 2D Prince of Persia game? I guarantee this game probably sold like, 3-4 million or something like that, if I had to take a wild guess. Maybe a little bit less, maybe around 1 or 2 million. I'm not really sure. But regardless, like, what were you expecting? 10, 15, 20 million for a 2D Metroidvania style game in honestly a franchise that a lot of people, unless you've been gaming since the old days, probably don't know. Like Prince of Persia, the last big game to come out during that time was back in the early 2000s. Like, I'm pretty sure there was a huge gap where a lot of people don't even know what Prince of Persia is. So the fact that you basically rebooted the series in this 2D game, this should be celebrated right here. A small team made it. It was good. You had a good budget for it. It made you a profit. Why aren't you celebrating this? Oh, right. I forget. We talk about this all the time. Line must go up infinitely and all that normal corporate BS stuff. Okay, whatever. But it's really sad when we see that this team essentially is then pushed off onto other projects. And what is one of those projects? Well, I would like to remind you of a little game called Beyond Good and Evil 2. And this game, I kid you not, was originally announced in 2008. Lemon, what was out in 2008? Please let the viewers know what was going on in 2008 back in those days, besides the fact that you and I were still high school students.
So a game called Mario Kart Wii was released. A game called Grand Theft Auto 4 was released. A lackluster sequel to the greatest fighting game ever made called Super Smash Bros. Brawl was released, where you could actually trip if on random. It was great. Everyone loved it. Pokemon Platinum was released. What else was released? Let's see here. I think that's about. How could I forget this? How could I forget this? Gears of War 2 was released.
Oh, God. This is just.
Jesus H.
This is just.
That's a long time ago.
God.
The heyday of the 360 and the PS3.
Jesus. So 16 years technically that Beyond Good and Evil 2 has been announced. Now, yes, technically it was re-revealed at Ubisoft's E3 2017, but no release date window was given, no gameplay was shown, nothing. Absolutely nothing. So God, I'm pretty sure this is worse than whatever Skull and Bones like went through when it came to development and everything.
Hey, that's quadruple A guy.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Let me formally apologize to the quadruple A game of the generation, Skull and Bones.
Yeah.
Let me give a moment here.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, this is just absolutely ridiculous. And then the fact that the team members that were then are now put on to, keep in mind, most of the Prince of Persia, the Lost Crown team are now back on the Beyond Good and Evil 2 developments. Others have moved on to some other projects that they're working on, including supposedly a Ghost Recon game and supposedly some kind of Project Steambot, which I guess has to deal with a Rayman remake of some kind, supposedly. But a lot of this stuff, supposedly, according to some, news and reporting and everything from the one and only, Tom Henderson, he according to him, a lot of people are not exactly on the team. At least a lot of people are not that thrilled. It's pretty unpopular internally to be working on this stuff, and it's just like, why would you take them away from Prince of Persia: Lost Crown and not greenlight a sequel that again kept you under budget and made you a profit most likely? Why would you not? I mean, let's be perfectly honest. This game easily would have sold more if it didn't have Ubisoft's name on it, because just like with any Ubisoft game, people simply wait a month or two and then, they buy 50% off. I mean, that's literally the running joke when it comes to Ubisoft games these days. So,
I mean, I was thinking about doing that.
Right.
But then everyone's like, it's really good. I'm like, all right, I'll play.
Yeah. I bought it day one. We covered it here on the channel and everything. Yeah. It was absolutely worth it. Plus, it wasn't a full $70 game. Like, it was already, if you bought it on Switch, I believe it was like $40. If you bought it on PS5 or Xbox, the current gen, if you bought it on previous gen as well, it was $40 if I remember correctly. And then it was $50 on the current gen consoles, which,
well, it's $25 now. So you should probably buy it.
There you, like, seriously, go buy this game.
Physical.
Go buy this game. But anyway, I could go off on Prince of Persia: Lost Crown for hours and just talk about how great it is. But according to the last little bit here is that the Beyond Good and Evil 2 game, even though all these people are now supposedly working on this game that's been in development for, keep in mind, 16 years, it's still a few more years away from launch. And developers across the entire publisher are confused as to why Ubisoft continues to invest tens of millions of dollars a year in development, which is most likely never going to get made back. So if you want to talk about wasting money, that game is wasting money. Like, Prince of Persia was a tight, in terms of budgets, I should say, it was a tight, well-formed team that knew exactly what they wanted to work on. They had a timeline, they got it done, they released the game, and they even had some nice little follow-up extra goodie stuff at the end of it. And this is how they're rewarded. Again, this is what happens when you're supposed to be taking things like games and art, essentially, which games are to some extent, and you're trying to put them into a corporation style area, which is where the entire game industry is right now. So it's just really sad to see. I mean, Lemon, I don't think you and I are really remotely that surprised given how things have been going on over the last 4+ years when it comes to everything within the gaming space right now. But like, why Beyond Good and Evil 2? Like, I don't know, Beyond Good and Evil, like, I've seen some gameplay from way back in the day. Keep in mind, when the original game came out, it was like 2003. You and I were junior high kids? So, yep. I don't know. It looks similar to what I would expect from something like Sly Cooper back in the day. I mean, it's definitely got that kind of style to it. So, I can see why people would like it back then. But I really honestly don't think it would really resonate with a lot of people in this day and age, unless you drastically changed what made everyone like the original in the first place. But then what are you going to do? You're going to do the typical edgy, chasing trends stuff that happens in a lot of these games. I mean, look at Saint Row, that Saint Row reboot where they tried to make it all like Gen Z, and all that stuff. And that flopped tremendously.
Well, it wasn't because it was just a bad game. It wasn't because Gen Z was just a bad game.
Well, when I say Gen Z, I'm not saying that Gen Z made the game bad or anything. I'm literally saying they are trying to appeal to like how they thought kids and gamers act that way.
You should say it's Gen Z's fault. It's Gen Z and Gen Alpha's fault. You all need to like acknowledge.
Our generation and Gen Z get blamed for everything these days. So I mean, what can you expect, right?
No, it's funny. If you asked me this question about a week, maybe 2 ago, I would have told you a different answer. But now, ever since that whole Bandai Namco thing came out, and I learned about how the Japanese way of laying people off is not to lay them off, but to put them into these kind of medial, just boring positions to get them to leave themselves to. Yeah, that's what this feels like. A game that has been in development hell for this long is not going to a game that's going to come out. This is effectively the please leave the company so we don't have to pay you severance kind of thing.
Yeah,
like this is not. We can talk about games that have been allegedly coming out in the case of like Half-Life 3, or games that have been announced but are never going to come out. Like, I guess now I can't think of a game better than Beyond Good and Evil 2, but Duke Nukem Forever used to be my go-to, but as long as it's come out. I don't know. Chinese Democracy is the other one. People keep putting shitty products out to get rid of my thing, but yeah, I don't know. It's just it's not good. I don't think Beyond Good and Evil 2's come out. I think it's just a thing to get people to quit the company, honestly.
Yeah.
So I feel really bad for that team. They put out a really solid game, but as you mentioned, I mean, that if it ain't selling gangbusters, that team's getting dissolved. That's kind of the case across any major publisher.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's in that day and age. Whereas back in our day, as we always like to say, right, a game could sell solidly, could do decently, especially as its first, their kind of first game as that team. And then they learn from what made the game good and what needed to be improved upon. And they come out with some kind of sequel or a new game. And that one will sell gangbusters, or it doesn't. And then at that point, yeah, it would make sense to then maybe dissolve the team or put people on different projects. But if it did super well, you then keep them together or let them do it. Essentially, give them a little more freedom to do what they want, try new things out or anything. And unfortunately, that's just not the way it works these days, unless you're basically Nintendo, maybe some of the first party studios at like Sony, but overall, it's just it's sad to see, especially with such a great game. Like I'm telling you guys right now, if you're still watching this video right now, go play Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown. Yeah, it's a great platformer, awesome combat. It's a Metroidvania game. Like it is definitely on my personal list in terms of Metroidvania games, which I've been playing since I was a kid. Everything from Castlevania games to the original Metroids, all that stuff. Like it's very high on my list. I honestly probably would put it in my top 3, if not top 5, is around where I would put it personally.
I mean, it really comes down to the whole corporate model though too. Like, unless it's gangbusters, unless it's like really pushing numbers, you can't. I don't think. I mean, this goes back to the whole AA, AAA thing. I don't think a corporation like Ubisoft could really do AA's anymore, a AA style game, because it just doesn't make enough money to really put a dent in the books, right?
Yeah. So, unless somehow that game is able to, within 24 hours, able to sell 5 million copies or something like that.
I guarantee you this game made its budget back and then some, maybe doubled it.
Easily. I absolutely. 100%. 100%. I guarantee it did. Absolutely. Yes.
But because it did not make the money that the Assassin's Creeds, back in the day, well, even not even back in the day, but right now I'm sure Siege, Rainbow Six Siege is still bringing in money for them for pretty much zero cost in terms of development, because I feel like that game's effectively dead. this game needed to do a lot bigger than it was ever meant to do.
Right. It was never
And-
meant to do that, those big, huge numbers, but it, unfortunately, yeah.
It was. I mean, they made a AA game. They released a AA game, and they sold it as a AA game. And Ubisoft's like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
Why is it not selling like a AAA game?
Yeah.
Like, what?
Yeah.
What were you expecting?
Yeah.
And so, I mean, as you mentioned, this is a franchise that's effectively been dormant. I feel like this game was I don't know, a response to the remake of Sands of Time, effectively just kind of going nowhere.
Yeah, I agree with that.
They just kind of dropped this out of nowhere. So yeah, I mean, it is a bad situation that they made the best of, and I think they did a really good job with it. But Ubisoft's in such dire straits that it could have, made infinite amounts of money, and they probably still would have dissolved it.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, absolutely 100%.
Like it's a publisher and company that is on a downward spiral that at best might get picked up by Tencent. At worst, probably is just going to get dissolved. And we're going to see another THQ where everyone's going to go, on a bidding war for what little franchises they still have left that are relevant. In fact, probably Assassin's Creed.
Yeah, I would say
Tom
probably like
Clancy's name.
Assassin's Creed, maybe a couple other ones, but that'd be about it. So, and who knows? Maybe they get picked up by somebody who then doesn't do anything with it. So, well, unfortunately, it's going to be some dark times going forward for some of these franchises and everything.
Yeah, I hope you weren't expecting that Splinter Cell remaster remake anytime soon.
Nope.
Because it ain't coming.